To organize your ideas when thinking critically, you identify, construct, and evaluate arguments, which are statements or explanations that support your ideas. At least one idea is your premise, what you claim or contend. The other elements of an argument is the conclusion. A well-constructed argument offers premises as reasons to accept the conclusion. When thinking critically, you identify and analyze arguments and issues that people present to you. You also develop sound and rational arguments when trying to persuade others. Let's take a look at the essential elements of identifying arguments. To identify arguments that others make, ask yourself the following questions. What is the other person trying to communicate, illustrate, or prove? What evidence or rationale does the other person use to support his or her argument? And what conclusion does the speaker want you to draw from his or her argument? Speakers often use premise or conclusion indicators as signals to catch your attention. Words such as because, since, assuming that, for, as, and similar expressions suggest the speaker is starting a premise. Phrases including result, that means, or, as you can see, are examples of conclusion indicators. When analyzing issues, be sure to differentiate between arguments and assertions. An assertion is a simple statement that does not include any supporting evidence. For example, customers like culinary tours is an assertion. If the follow-up statement provides evidence or rationale for the statement, it becomes an argument. Deductive reasoning typically takes an argument from general observation or premise to a specific conclusion. If the premises are true, you can assume the conclusion is valid. Inductive reasoning attempts to draw a broad conclusion from specific examples or premises. These arguments are generally not as logically sound as deductive arguments and should be considered carefully. Conclusions from inductive reasoning are more likely to identify patterns and offer alternatives than decisive action. Let's take a look at some do's and don'ts of identifying arguments. First, identify argument elements. Do consider what someone is trying to communicate, but don't make an argument without verifying your claims. Use deductive reasoning. Do draw a conclusion from general observations if the premises are true, but don't offer a conclusion based on faulty information. And finally, use inductive reasoning. Use the conclusion of deductive reasoning to identify alternatives and patterns, but don't rely on inductive arguments, which are not as strong as deductive arguments. Take a look at the rest of these do's and don'ts of identifying arguments as you go out to do your work in problem solving.